They say I survived Greystone. But survival isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of something worse. I hear her voice in the pipes now, soft, sweet, waiting. She's not just haunting my dreams. She's inside me. And every time I close my eyes, the song gets louder, like it's trying to break out of my throat. They moved me to a new facility. Called it safe. Called me stable. But no one asks why the mirrors fog when I'm calm, or why the other patients hum notes they've never heard before. My name is Lila, and I think I'm becoming her. Or maybe, I already am. This isn't a haunting. It's a handoff. And I don't know if I can stop what's coming. I just know I'm not singing alone anymore. Welcome to the Skillful Art of Manipulation audiobook. If you haven't already, we invite you to follow us on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss a story. Today we're honored to bring you Echoes of the Drowned, the Siren's second voice. Get ready to immerse yourself in a powerful mind-blowing manipulation thriller that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Because here, our mission is to keep you coming back for more. So without further ado, let's dive into this thrilling narrative together. Chapter 1. The Ones Who Came Back Wrong. They don't talk about the ones who survive. Not really. You hear about the dead. You mourn the missing. You light candles, build shrines, whisper prayers to gods you don't believe in. But survivors? We make people uncomfortable. Because survival isn't clean. It doesn't come wrapped in gratitude or dressed in second chances. It comes dripping, shaking, fractured at the seams. Survival is ugly. It's guilt-stained skin and memory static and breath that tastes like salt and screams. That's what I am now. Ugly survival in a human shell. They found me curled in the nurse's ward. Knees pressed to my chest. Eyes open but unfocused. Fingernails crusted in blood that wasn't mine. I hadn't spoken in hours. Maybe days. The lake had swallowed everyone else whole, but for some godforsaken reason, it had spit me out. I was the girl who didn't sing. Not loud enough, anyway. The new place is nothing like Greystone. The walls here are warm beige. The ceilings don't flicker. The staff wear smiles so tight they look stapled to their faces. St. Anselm's Wellness Center. A name that sounds like a promise and a threat all at once. They keep telling me this is the safe place. The final stop before reintegration. It sounds like a funeral for my mind. They assign me a therapist. Dr. Evelyn Hurst. She has silver-rimmed glasses and a voice like a drowning violin, sweet, thin, and always just a little off-key. She keeps saying my name like it's supposed to belong to me. Lila, she says. Let's talk about what happened at Greystone. I want to say, you mean the drowning? The singing walls? The monster in the lake that wore a girl's face? But I don't. I don't say anything. Because I'm not ready for them to label me too. They'll say I have delusions. Psychosis. Trauma-induced hallucinations. They'll start the pills again. I'll forget the truth. And then one day, the song will start all over again. No, I keep the silence. It's the only power I have left. But the problem with silence? It leaves room for the song. It starts soft. Always does. Late at night. When the halls quiet down and the buzz of routine fades. 3 notes. Descending. Delicate. Like the sound of water slipping through stone. I try to ignore it. I press my palms against my ears. I hold my breath. I squeeze my eyes shut until I see white bursts behind my eyelids. But it still comes. It's not external. It's inside me now. They say I didn't sleep for 3 days straight. When I finally passed out, they moved me to a room closer to the nurse's station. For observation, they said. I think they just wanted to make sure I didn't start singing too. I met Jude on day 7. He's in the room next to mine. He knocked on the wall between us at 3:22 a.m. 3 knocks. I didn't answer. So he did it again the next night. Same time. Same pattern. Eventually I knocked back. Now it's a ritual. 3 knocks. A pause. And then I listen. Sometimes I hear him breathing. Other times he whispers things. She sings to me in dreams, he murmured one night. She says you're the one who survived wrong. I didn't respond, but his voice stayed with me. Sharp. Clear. Like a knife under the skin. Dr. Hurst says I should journal my feelings. So I do. But not the way she wants. Here's today's entry. Day 11. The water remembers me. Every time I close my eyes, I see their faces. Not screaming. Not afraid. Just singing. I think I'm becoming one of them. I think that's the point. What happens to a voice that's stolen but never used? Does it rot? Or does it wait? She asks me again about Elias. I don't know how to talk about him without unraveling. He was the epicenter. The broken compass. The prophet who remembered too late. He drowned in truth and she loved him for it. But I heard the song and I turned away. That's why I lived. That's why I'm cursed. I saw her in the mirror last night. Not a hallucination. Not a flash of memory. Her. Dripping. Hair like oil-slicked seaweed. Skin like old porcelain left in salt air too long. Eyes that begged and condemned in the same breath. She didn't speak. She just pointed at my throat. And I felt it. The heat. The echo. The pull. Jude knocked again. 3 soft taps. This time he whispered something different. She's not done with you. And I believed him. I think the siren planted something in me. A note. A seed. A song not meant to be sung, yet. Maybe I'm the backup plan. The second voice. Because what better way to survive than by becoming the thing that destroyed you? The doctors keep asking the wrong questions. Do you feel safe? Do you remember the events as they happened? Do you believe what you saw was real? What they should be asking is, when did the silence start to hum? When did the water begin speaking your name? What will you do when the melody becomes your own? It's 3:22 a.m. again. 3 knocks. This time I don't wait. I knock back 4 times. He pauses. Then whispers, "You heard it too, didn't you?" My voice is barely a breath. It never left. Outside my room, the hallway lights flicker. I hear humming. Not from Jude. Not from the staff. From the pipes. The walls. The floor under my bed. She's waking up. And this time, she's using me. Chapter 2. Water wears the skin it's given. Dr. Hurst brought me tea today. Chamomile. As if a flower in hot water could stop what's boiling beneath my ribs. She places it on the table between us, porcelain clinking like bones tapping in rhythm. Her fingers linger too long. She wants me to trust her. Wants to anchor me to the smell, the cup, the warmth. Anything but the storm circling behind my eyes. "You look stronger today," she says, pen already in hand. That's how she speaks to me now. Like a zookeeper to a predator that stopped pacing. I say nothing. Not because I can't speak. But because my words aren't safe anymore. They aren't just mine. Last night I had a dream. But it didn't feel like a dream. It felt like a memory that never belonged to me. I was standing in the surf. Salt stinging my skin. My mouth open. But the sound pouring out wasn't human. It was low and heavy and old. The kind of note that makes bones ache. And across from me, on a rock shaped like a broken heart, she watched. Corinne. Or what's left of her. She didn't speak. Didn't move. But I knew she was listening. Judging. Waiting to see if I'd do it right this time. When I woke, my pillow was damp. Not sweat. Salt water. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it. That my mind was staging symbols again. But then I touched the mirror. Fog. No heat in the room. No steam. Just fog on glass, and a single word traced across it in a finger I didn't move. Sing. There's a girl here named Cam. She doesn't talk much either, but she watches. Eyes like cracked marbles, always spinning, always reflecting something just out of reach. She sat beside me in the dining hall today. Uninvited. Silent. Then she whispered, "Do you hear her too?" I didn't move. Didn't blink. But Cam smiled like she knew my answer. "She's in the vents now," she said, voice flat. "Said you're the one who got away. Said you're the one who's going to bring her back." Before I could respond, she stood up and walked away. Her tray untouched. Her chair still warm. Dr. Hurst asked me to draw again. Something calming. So I drew the lake. Not the real one. The one from inside. The one I see when I close my eyes. Black water. Silver light. Bodies floating, not sinking. Hands open. Eyes closed. A lullaby made of silence. When I slid the sketch across the table, Hurst stared too long. Then she said too quietly, "That's not the first time I've seen this." I asked her what she meant. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Something's wrong with the building. The vents moan at night. Not creak. Not clank. Moan. Like wind pushed through vocal cords too old to scream. The pipes gurgle in rhythm. The floors sweat seawater. My walls are damp at the corners. But no one talks about it. Except Jude. He knocked again. But this time only twice. A new rhythm. I pressed my hand to the wall. Whispered, "What happened?" His voice came through, distant like a memory underwater. She visited me. My heart stopped. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Was it a dream? He paused. No. She sat on my chest. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. She said, "Your voice is stronger now." Said, "It's almost ready." I should be afraid. But what I feel isn't fear. It's familiarity. Like hearing an old song you forgot you loved. The more I resist, the louder it gets. The more I deny her, the more I dream in her melody. I think this is what Corinne meant all along. The song isn't possession. It's permission. Today, I looked into the mirror and sang one note. Just one. Soft. Fragile. And the mirror cracked. They took me off evening rec time after that. Said I was too reactive. Moved me to a private room again. No roommate. No distractions. But I know the truth. They heard it. Even through the walls. Even without understanding. They felt it. That one note carried everything. Grief. Memory. Rot. And power. I think I know what she wants now. Not just my voice. My story. My pain. My guilt. My echo. She wants her legend to have a new mouth. And she wants me to wear it. Tonight, I pulled the blankets over my head and whispered to the ceiling. I won't forget you. And something inside the walls answered. 3 knocks. No footsteps. No voice. Just the knocks. And in my chest. I sang it back. Chapter 3. Beneath the skin, a voice waits. There's something they never tell you about silence. It doesn't arrive empty. It fills itself with everything you've tried to forget. Silence is where the memories hide, crawling out of your spine when the lights go out. It's where grief mutates. Where guilt becomes song. And lately, the silence has started humming again. Not with music. With memory. Today I found something in my bed. A piece of sea glass. Smooth. Blue-green. Still wet. No one believes me, of course. They searched the room. Under the mattress, behind the outlets, inside the vents. Found nothing else. But I felt the song in that glass. Holding it in my hand was like clutching a secret written in melody. My pulse synchronized with it. My breath slowed. My skin prickled with electricity. And just beneath the glassy surface, I swear I saw her face. Mouth open. Mid-note. Dr. Hurst noticed the difference in me. She doesn't say it outright, but she watches like she's bracing for something to crawl out of me. Like she knows I'm no longer entirely mine. During session today, she said, "You've been quiet again, Lila. And you used to be so expressive." I looked at her, measured my words, and smiled. "Silence," I said, "is how a voice sharpens." She blinked, jotted something down. I could have told her the truth, that the voice in my chest isn't just mine anymore. That sometimes when I speak, the words feel like hers. That I've started craving salt water the way addicts crave oxygen. But that would ruin the game, and we're already deep in it. The staff doesn't notice it, but this place is sinking. Not physically, not yet, but psychologically, spiritually. I see the way the patients walk now. Slower, softer, like they're listening for something under the floors. I hear them in their rooms humming fragments. No lyrics, just breath and tone. Echoes of her. She's spreading. The new girl, Mari, started scratching shapes into her arms. Spiral symbols. Crude fish tails. She says they're anchors, that they keep her from floating away when the songs start in her sleep. She's never met Corinne, but she draws her anyway. Same face. Same eyes. Same mouth open in warning or worship. Jude hasn't knocked in 2 days. That's not normal. I pressed my ear to the wall last night, listening for breath. A cough. A rustle. Anything. All I heard was water. Soft. Sloshing. Like someone pacing barefoot through a flooded room. This morning his door was locked. Blinds down. Tray untouched. When I asked the nurse, she smiled too wide and said, "Jude has been moved to a quieter location." They always say that right before someone vanishes. At breakfast, Mari sat across from me. Unblinking. "You heard it first," she said. I didn't answer. "You called her back. With your silence." That's how she travels now. Through the quiet. Like mold. She reached out and grabbed my wrist. Her fingers were freezing. "Do you know what it means when the pipes start singing? It means the water's not beneath us anymore. It's already here." She let go. Walked away. Left a damp palm print on my skin. It didn't fade for hours. I returned to my room and checked the mirror again. This time, there were 2 reflections. One mine. The other watching me. She looked exactly like me except the eyes. Mine are brown. Hers were black. Dr. Hurst doubled my sessions this week. Says I'm cycling. Says my emotional regulation is slipping. Says I'm showing signs of shared psychotic disorder. She's wrong. It's not shared. It's transferred. Corinne is migrating. She's shedding her skin like a serpent, leaving behind a trail of memory and melody. And I'm next. I can feel her crawling into the architecture of my mind, curling around my spine, laying eggs in my voice box. Sometimes I open my mouth just to make sure she hasn't started singing for me yet. But I'm not stupid. She doesn't need my permission. I used to think Corinne wanted revenge. But now, I'm starting to think it's something worse. I think she wants audience. She wants to be remembered, not as myth but as movement. As the story no one can stop telling. And I'm her pen. The staff is lying. Not just Hurst. All of them. There's something they're not saying. Like they know what's in the walls. Like they've heard this tune before. There's an old maintenance hallway by the basement, chained off. Water damage. Restricted access. But Mari says that's where the first leak started. And late last night, when everyone was supposed to be asleep, I saw an orderly unlock that door and slip through. No flashlight. No hesitation. Like he was going home. I've decided I need to go down there. Find the route. See if the lake still exists, if it ever stopped existing. I think she's rebuilding Greystone from the inside out. And I think the foundation is me. I wrote a note and slid it under Jude's door. If he's still there, he'll understand. If he's not, then I'm alone in this after all. They gave me a sedative tonight. New pill. Green capsule. Bitter. I held it under my tongue until the nurse left. Spat it into the toilet. Because I need to stay clear. Because when I open that door, when I follow the humming, when I hear that final verse, I need to know if I'm the singer, or just another echo. As I lie here, the walls vibrate with her again. A low, guttural hum that tightens my skin. The light bulb above my bed flickers to her rhythm. And in the corner of my ceiling, condensation gathers, drop by drop, shaping words I wish I could unsee. Almost ready. Chapter 4. The door that wasn't meant to open. There's a point where fear stops screaming and starts whispering. That's when it gets dangerous. That's when it starts to make sense. Tonight, the fear is whispering to me. And I'm listening. I waited until the second bed check passed. 9:30 p.m. sharp. The same every night. Orderly knocks. Glances at the chart. Brief flashlight sweep. Then gone. What they don't realize is that I've learned their rhythm. They run on routine. But I run on intuition now. I dressed in silence. Hoodie. Socks. Black sweats with the waistband loosened for mobility. I tucked the sea glass into my pocket, fingers brushing it like a lucky charm. It pulsed slightly, like it was responding to the choice I hadn't even voiced aloud yet. I was going. Downstairs. To the hallway behind the chain. To the place no one talks about. The corridor to the lower ward smells like bleach and lies. It's lined with storage rooms, old vents, files that should have been shredded years ago, and echoes that don't belong to anyone still living. I crept past the camera blind spots. Yes, I've mapped them. And approached the rusted gate that leads to the sublevel. The chain around it looked older than the building. Crusted with salt. A padlock hung from it, but it wasn't secured. Just looped for show. Someone wants this door to stay closed, but they know eventually someone like me won't let it. I unhooked it. Let the chain drop. The clatter sounded like thunder in the dark. I waited. No one came. The stairwell was narrower than I expected. Concrete walls streaked with water damage and strange symbols burned into the paint. Some looked like fish, others like musical notations. I ran my fingers across one and felt a sharp jolt behind my eyes. The metal railing was ice cold, even though the air was humid and thick. With each step down, the smell deepened. Salt. Mold. Blood. It wasn't just a basement. It was a chamber. An old one. A place with memory. When I reached the bottom, the light overhead flickered once and then died. Total darkness. Except no, not total. Far ahead, at the end of a long, broken hallway, there was light. Blue. Pulsing. Almost breathing. The walls down here were slick with algae. The floor wet beneath my socks. I wasn't alone. The air told me that. The vibration in my lungs told me that. She was close. I passed 3 doors on the way down. All metal. No handles. Welded shut. One had deep scratches along the bottom, like something inside had tried to claw its way out. Or maybe claw someone in. My breath caught. I pressed forward. The light grew brighter. Not fluorescent. Bioluminescent. Like the glow of deep-sea creatures. Like the soft hum of a memory that didn't want to be remembered. Then I saw it. The chamber. The place below the place. And in its center. Water. Not a puddle. Not a leak. A pool. Circular. Perfect. Man-made. Old tiles chipped and blackened with rot. The edge ringed in carvings. Runes. Latin. Musical clefs stitched into stone. It wasn't built for therapy. It was built for worship. And the water? Still. Too still. Like it was listening. I stepped closer, every part of me screaming to turn back. But that's not what you do when you're this far gone. You don't walk away from the thing that's been calling you. You face it, even if it eats you whole. So I sat, right on the edge, let my feet dangle in. The water was warm. Too warm. Like blood just below boiling. And then she rose. Not all the way. Just her face. Emerging slowly. Hair fanned like ink around her shoulders. Eyes wide, dark, bottomless. Skin pale and glistening, glowing faintly from beneath like she was lit from the bones out. She didn't speak. Not with her mouth. But I heard her anyway. You opened the door. You always do. That's why I chose you. I tried to speak, but my tongue felt too thick. You think I sing to kill. I don't. I sing to remember. The water pulsed. The chamber vibrated. Images flashed in my mind. Not mine. Hers. Being burned. Bound. Silenced. Drowned, but not destroyed. Each memory pressed into my chest like a needle dipped in fire. They locked me here. Called me a witch. A demon. A myth. But myths are just truths rewritten by cowards. I opened my mouth to tell her I wasn't a coward. That I came back. That I faced her. That I survived. But she laughed. Softly. Sadly. You think this is courage? No, Lila. This is recognition. Suddenly the room shifted. The water rippled outward, slowly at first, then violently. Voices spilled out. Hundreds. Layered. Singing, screaming, whispering. All women. All hers. And I felt them in me. A burning behind my eyes. A cracking in my ribs. A second heartbeat beneath my own. Then, her voice. This time fully formed. And it came from my own mouth. I didn't try to sing. It forced itself out of me. A melody poured through my teeth. Low. Grieving. Ancient. It filled the room. It filled the dark. It wrapped around the cracks in the floor and pulled them wider. I sang like someone waking from death. And then, I stopped. Because I heard something else. A door creaking open. Footsteps. And a voice. You shouldn't be here. I turned. Dr. Hurst stood in the entrance of the chamber. But something was wrong. Her eyes. Too wide. Too bright. Her voice soft, trembling. Not her own. She stepped forward. Slow. Deliberate. You let her in, she said, smiling. Or maybe something else was smiling through her. I've been keeping her quiet for so long. Keeping her buried. But now, she placed a hand over her chest. You gave her breath again. My knees buckled. You knew. I whispered. She's not the monster, Lila. She's the memory. The rage. The voice they stole. She needs a vessel. And you're perfect. My vision blurred. I stumbled backward into the water. Sank to my knees. The song throbbed in my skull. My skin felt wrong, too tight, too thin, like something inside was trying to push through. She stepped closer. Knelt beside the water. You don't have to fight it, Hurst or whatever wore her said. Just sing. And in that moment, I almost did. I almost surrendered. Almost let the melody swallow the last of me. But then I remembered Jude's knock. Mari's drawings. The cracked mirror. The sea glass. The word. Almost. That's the key. She's not done yet. She's still becoming. And that means I still have a choice. I stood. Dripping. Trembling. But still mine. Not yet, I whispered. You don't get to finish the song without me knowing the lyrics. She blinked. And I ran. Chapter 5. She wears my face in dreams. They say the mind breaks in silence. But that's not true. The mind breaks when silence starts to answer back. When you stare too long into the stillness and realize it's staring back. That's where I'm at now. Beyond fear. Past survival. Somewhere between recognition and possession. I haven't spoken in 2 days. Not because I can't. Because I'm afraid if I do, she'll speak too. There's something lodged in my throat that doesn't belong to me. A melody, maybe. A ghost of her voice, coiled up like a serpent waiting for the right note to unwind. Every time I try to talk, my voice comes out wrong. Off-key. Too soft. Like someone else is warming up in my lungs. Dr. Hurst doesn't push anymore. She just watches. I think she's waiting. Not for me to recover, but for me to relent. The sublevel is sealed off now. I heard them hammer the door shut while I lay in bed, teeth clenched, eyes fixed on the ceiling like it might crack open and rain down her name again. They think they can contain her. Idiots. You can't wall in water. You can't trap a song. This morning, I found new scratches on my forearms. Thin. Precise. Carved into my skin like notes on a staff. I didn't put them there. I don't even remember dreaming. But I know what they mean. It's a melody. She's writing herself into me. Note by note. Line by line. She's not just after my voice. She wants my body to be the manuscript. Mari won't look at me anymore. She flinches when I pass. Murmurs prayers under her breath. Draws new sigils on the walls in crayon like they'll keep me out. I don't blame her. I don't trust myself either. Yesterday, I caught my reflection in the cafeteria window. It wasn't me. Not exactly. It was my face, but something was wrong. The way it blinked. The way the mouth moved just a split second behind mine. The way the eyes smiled when I didn't. She's in my nervous system now. Learning. Adapting. Wearing me like a rehearsal costume before opening night. They moved me into observation again. The walls are white. Too white. Like padded lies wrapped in linen. There's a new nurse assigned, Victor. Young. Tall. Too curious. He smiles at me like he thinks I'm a puzzle he'll be the first to solve. He talks in slow, soft tones. Calls me kiddo. Tells me I'm doing better. I asked him where they took Jude. He said Jude was never here. I almost laughed. They're rewriting reality now. During group therapy, they brought out ink blots. The kind meant to test perception. Reveal what you see when shown chaos. Everyone else said things like butterfly, bat, storm cloud. When they showed me the first one, I saw her mouth. Wide, black, full of teeth and music. The second blot, her eyes. The third me, but not me. A version of me. Standing in water, hands raised, singing with blood running from my ears. Dr. Hurst asked me what I saw. I told her, reflection. She smiled and said, good. And I swear her eyes darkened. Just for a second. There's something in the vents again. At night I hear it crawling. Not rats. Not rust. Breath. Soft and uneven. Like someone gasping through wet lungs. Sometimes I whisper to it. Sometimes it whispers back. The voice is always mine. And never mine. I found an old patient file in the laundry room today. Tucked behind a broken shelf. Water damaged. Fragile. The name, Corinne V. Bellamy. Date of admittance, March 7, 1953. Diagnosis, auditory hallucinations. Vocal hysterics. Religious delusions. Self-harm. But scribbled in red across the bottom was one line, circled over and over. She remembers what the sea forgot. That night I heard her sing again. Only this time it wasn't in my head. It came through the walls. Clear. Sweet. Unforgiving. And down the hall, one of the patients began screaming. Screaming so hard her voice broke mid-sound. They had to sedate her. Drag her out. As they wheeled her away, her hand reached toward me. And she whispered, you let her in. I can't sleep anymore. Even when I try, the dreams swallow me whole. In one, I walk the halls naked, dripping with black water, every step echoing with song. In another, I find Jude, mouth sewn shut, eyes wide, body floating in midair like gravity no longer wanted him. In the worst one, I see myself strapped to a chair, mouth pried open, and Corinne stands behind me, whispering notes into my throat until they become mine. Victor came into my room again, checked my vitals, smiled like he always does. But this time he looked off. His hand lingered too long on my wrist. He leaned close. Whispers. She's ready for her debut. Then walked out. Just like that. Like nothing happened. Like I didn't feel the chill crawl down my spine. Like the words weren't hers. There are no more coincidences. The staff isn't afraid of the siren. They're following her. Obeying. Preparing. I've started recording myself while I sleep. Audio only. Just to prove I'm not crazy. Or to catch the moment I become something else. Last night, the recording captured something. 7 minutes of silence. Then humming. Then my voice. Singing. But it wasn't a song I've ever known. Or maybe it's one I've always known but forgot. At the very end, right before the file cuts out, a second voice joins mine. Low. Familiar. And whispering one word. Soon. I don't know what's real anymore. But I know this. She's no longer knocking. She's inside the walls. Inside me. And something is coming. A crescendo. A final verse. The kind you don't survive unless you sing it perfectly. Chapter 6, where the silence bends. There is a sound I've come to dread more than screaming. It's the silence just before it. The kind that doesn't ring, doesn't buzz, it bends. Like pressure pressing inward from nowhere. Like sound itself is holding its breath, bracing for impact. That silence is in this building now. And I can feel it curving around me. Everything is quieter this week. Too quiet. The intercom hasn't clicked in 3 days. The mealtime announcements have stopped. Even the staff walk slower, like they're tiptoeing around a house that's already collapsed. Dr. Hurst doesn't smile anymore. She just watches. Even Victor, who used to call me kiddo like it meant something, has gone flat in the eyes. And I think I finally understand why. They're not afraid of her anymore. They're afraid of me. They know I've crossed a line. They can see it in my stillness, in my silence. I've stopped pretending, stopped participating, because I'm no longer trying to heal. I'm trying to understand. The dreams aren't dreams anymore. They're places I go, rooms I visit, lives I touch that aren't mine but should have been. Last night, I stood in the first chapel built beneath Greystone. Before it became a hospital, before it became a tomb. The walls were wet, the altar made of coral and bone. And in the pews sat dozens of women, their skin pale and bloated, mouths open, humming in harmony. Each time I turned my head, I recognized one. Mari, Nurse Hannah, the girl from the West Wing who vanished last month. Even Jude, all of them, humming with peace like they'd found something better than freedom. I woke up in tears, but not from fear, from longing. Because whatever she's offering, whatever she's building beneath the surface, it feels like home. I walked into therapy today without waiting for them to call me. Dr. Hurst looked startled. Just briefly. Then she leaned back, clicked her pen, spoke like nothing had changed. Sleep okay? I saw your chapel, I said. No preamble. No dance. Her pen froze. What chapel? I smiled. You know which one. She didn't respond. So I kept going. I saw the women. The ones who came before me. I saw their songs. Still silence. So I dropped the last stone. I saw you in one of the pews. That landed. Her jaw tightened. And I swear, the lights above us dimmed. You're still fighting it, she said finally. Her voice no longer clinical. Something deeper now. Almost reverent. You think the song is control. But it's not. It's remembrance. I leaned in. Remembrance of what? Her lips curled slightly. Of who you were. Before they silenced you. Before they gave you pills and names and diagnoses to bury what you already knew. You're saying I was chosen? No, she shook her head. You chose yourself. The moment you heard her. I felt the room tilt. I gripped the arm of the chair. Because in that moment, I believed her. Later that night, I found the leak. The one behind the north stairwell. The hallway they boarded up a month ago claiming foundation rot. But it wasn't rot. It was overflow. The water had risen. It now crept up the walls in slow, shimmering tendrils, like it had learned to breathe without sound. I placed my hand against the damp surface. It was warm, and beneath it I felt heartbeat. Not mine, not human, but familiar. It pulsed 3 times, then stopped, like it was answering. Victor found me there. He didn't yell. He didn't call security. He just stood beside me, his voice thin with something between awe and terror. She's almost ready, he said. I turned to him. She or me? He didn't answer. Didn't have to. I started losing time. Not hours. Moments. Like I'd blink and suddenly be in another hallway. Or I'd finish a sentence I didn't remember starting. Or find salt beneath my fingernails. One night, I found myself outside Cam's door. No memory of walking there. No reason why. Just the overwhelming urge to sing. I bit down on my tongue hard enough to taste blood. The song retreated. But not before whispering. Almost. The patients have changed too. They barely speak. They barely eat. But they hum now. All of them. In different keys. Different tempos. Each one tuned to a piece of her melody. Even the birds outside have stopped chirping. The wind moves in rhythm now. The building groans like it's bracing for birth. I tried recording myself again. But this time, there was no audio. Just static. Then, at exactly 3 minutes, 22 seconds, a single note played. Deep. Feminine. Echoed like it had come from the bottom of a well. I played it back 10 times. And on the 10th play, I sang with it. Not intentionally. Not consciously. It just came out. And when it did, the lights in my room dimmed. The air went heavy. And I heard her voice. From inside me. Now we are 1 note apart. The next day, I demanded a one-on-one with Hurst. I needed to know everything. She agreed. Led me to her office. Locked the door behind her. Then sat across from me like we were about to conduct a ritual. You're scared, she said. No, I replied. I'm aware. That's progress. I took a breath. What happens when the song is complete? She smiled gently. She remembers. Fully. And through her so do we. Remember what? She leaned forward. Who we were before they called it madness. Before they told us our voices were dangerous. Before they made healing synonymous with forgetting. My chest tightened. You don't want to fix us, I said. You want to unleash us. She nodded. That's what she is, Lila. Not a monster. A restoration. I walked out of her office different. Not cured. Not convinced. Just heavier. Because I knew the final verse was close. I could feel it vibrating in my spine, waiting for its moment to break free. And I didn't know if I would stop it, or be the one to start it. That night, I dreamed of the lake again. But this time, I wasn't alone. She stood beside me, hair floating in still water, eyes full of something I finally recognized, not rage, not hunger. Hope. And in her hand was a mirror. She held it out to me. I looked inside, and saw myself. But not me. Older, stronger, glowing from within. A conductor. A mouthpiece for something ancient and unbreakable. And she whispered, "Sing with me, or drown in silence." I woke up with a song on my lips. And this time, I didn't stop it. Chapter 7. The final note was mine. I thought the end would come like a wave, fast, loud, final. But it didn't. It came like a breath held too long. A note suspended in the throat. A silence that stretches, and stretches, until it becomes unbearable. And that's when it sings. The world began to tilt 3 days ago. Not all at once. Just in pieces. The walls pulsed when I walked past them. The floor beneath my bed moaned like something was growing beneath it. And every reflective surface, mirrors, water, windows, stopped showing just me. She was always there. Sometimes behind. Sometimes beside. Sometimes wearing my exact face. But just a half-second late in blinking. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. But no one ever warned what happens when two souls start looking out the same set. I didn't sleep the night before it happened. Didn't eat. Didn't speak. There was no need. She was already inside me now. I could feel her stretching, flexing, coiling herself around the softest parts of me like a lullaby wrapped in barbed wire. She wasn't violent. She didn't need to be. She had patience. That was always her power. Corinne never drowned people. She waited until they walked willingly into the tide. I sat in the corridor outside the sealed chapel that morning, barefoot and soaked to the knees. No one questioned me. No one tried to stop me. Even Dr. Hurst passed without a word, only placing her hand against the glass between us and mouthing something I'll never forget. "You'll remember the rest once you sing it." And she was right, because the song wasn't just music. It was memory. It was identity. A map made of vibration and grief. A chorus of everyone she used to be and everyone she still could become. She didn't want worship. She wanted witness. The moment began not with a scream, but with a harmony. The hum started beneath my skin. A low tone in my belly. A vibration that climbed, note by note, spine by spine, until my jaw ached from holding it back. I walked, barefoot, unblinking, down the main corridor, past the observation windows, past the nurse's station, past Mari, who sat cross-legged in a puddle of seawater, eyes closed, softly singing to herself with her fingernails dug into her thighs. She was smiling. I didn't stop, didn't hesitate. I went straight to the sealed door, the one to the subchamber, the place where it began, the mouth of the memory. The lock was gone. No key, just open, waiting. The air changed when I crossed the threshold. It wasn't cold. It was wet, not damp, not humid, wet, like I'd walked into a body, like the air was breathing me. I moved down the stairwell. One step, then another. 32 total. I counted each one like a ritual, because every step meant something. Meant I was choosing this. And I was. The chamber hadn't changed. Still tiled in decay. Still lit by unnatural blue light. Still centered around the pool. But this time, she wasn't submerged. She was standing. Not hovering. Not floating. Standing. On the surface. Like the water had turned to glass beneath her feet. She looked at me like I was the only face she'd waited to see. Not with love. Not with malice. With completion. "Is this where I disappear?" I asked. She didn't speak. But I heard the answer. "No. This is where you're remembered." I stepped closer. The water rippled beneath me, but didn't resist. It welcomed me. Took me in like a womb. I walked until we stood face to face. Her skin shimmered. Her hair floated. Her eyes, my eyes, pierced through every lie I'd ever told myself. "You've been in me this whole time," I whispered. "I never left." She reached for my hand. I took it. And just like that, the song began. I didn't sing it. It sang through me. The walls of the chamber shook. The water glowed. The ceiling wept salt. And above, far above, the entire hospital moaned, like a building trying to remember its own purpose. All over the facility, voices began to rise. First Mari, then Cam, then others, patients, staff. Even the birds perched on the sill outside began to mimic the sound. It wasn't melody anymore. It was a network, a living chorus. a vibration that stitched us together across time and breath and body. I saw Dr. Hurst kneel in the hallway, tears streaming, mouthing every word like scripture. I saw Victor collapse to the ground, smiling as blood trickled from his nose and the last of his resistance poured out of him. The song reached its peak. And I felt it. The choice. It was always going to come to this. Not between good or evil, but between silence and survival. Between letting the past rot in the deep, or letting it sing. She looked at me, hands outstretched, and I did what no one expected. I stepped forward. I took her face in my hands, and I kissed her, not as surrender, as recognition. And in that moment the song changed. Just slightly. Just enough. It wasn't hers anymore. It was ours. The chamber didn't explode. It imploded, not in violence but in memory. It folded in on itself like a dying note, perfect tragic whole. And when the light faded, she was gone. The water stilled. And I stood alone. But I was still me. Mostly. They say the facility collapsed that night. Sinkhole. Gas leak. Faulty wiring. They say only one survivor was pulled from the wreckage. A young woman, drenched in salt, mouth humming softly, eyes too old for her face. They don't say my name. They don't talk about the others. They just call it a tragedy. Another name for stories we don't want to understand. Now, I live by the ocean. Alone. Quiet. But never silent. Because the song still lives in me. But it no longer controls me. It remembers me. And sometimes when the moon is low, and the tide pulls too far, I walk into the surf, up to my knees, and I sing, just once, just enough, to make sure she knows. I didn't forget.